extra strong Roman concrete,
fully hydraulic,
structural solid connections.
It's the
structural
Engineering podcast.
All right, so let's jump into our topic this week of talking about some codes.
Nice. Okay. And this topic was thanks to one of our Instagram friends, Brian, there, who asked what code structural engineers use. So I'm giving you a little prelim here on what to expect. The building codes in general, there's two ways to describe them here. They would describe themselves as looking after the health, safety, and general welfare of the public, which I think, big picture, that's what a code book is here to do. Someone in the industry might tell you a code book is to define the worst a building can be built by law. That's, maybe the more casual side of it, but it defines not only structures, but fire codes and water code and all sorts of stuff on top of that. The code that we have today, International Code Council, many other countries use this. Do you know how many that is, Zach?
Man, I don't know, but it's quite a bit, and it's definitely the model code for about every country.
Yeah, and that model code word, that's pretty important too. That's another one of these definitions that they try to go by is something that is a model code, but maybe we'll come back around to that. Let's talk about where this code came from. The IBC has only been around since I think the year 2000 or 2001, so not terribly long. Before that, there were a lot of different codes across the country. We have the ICBO, the BOCA, the SDCI, and the UBC, and I think several others. But around the year 2000, the International Code Council was formed and decided that we should maybe collect some of these. So the UBC plus three others were formed to create what is the International Code Council.
And the UBC was, I'd say, probably the most popular. Uniform Building Code was the most popular during the last 100 years prior to the IBC.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was 100. I think the UBC was something in like the 30s maybe formed, but the UBC is, especially in the West, the one you're going to see the most in any office I've ever worked. There's an old like 82 UBC sitting around. For us, for everything we will have seen, Mountains and West is going to be UBC. Apparently on the East Coast, they jumped around a little bit more. But yeah, now we've got one. If you want to take it, which is another kind of key to this code thing, is they come out every 3 years, and sometimes states adopt them, sometimes counties adopt them, and sometimes they don't do anything instead. It's easier.
Yeah, I've worked on some projects that are in like a pretty early UBC day or IBC, fairly early. And it's 2019.
Yeah, some of these rural counties, okay, so depending on the state you're in, the state will designate whether codes are, selected by the states, such as in Utah, or selected by counties, such as in Colorado.
Which one do you think is better?
State. Well, whichever one the president's more on top of it, probably state, because then you don't have 50 groups of 5 people trying to figure out what their code updates are going to be, because there are amendments and whatnot. Yeah, so I think I'm all for state on that one.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of these days we should sit down with someone that does code review and kind of is more on that side of the world, because it's got to be so difficult to stay on top of all this. Every 3 years things are
absolutely
massive changes. I sit on the the seismic committee here in Colorado, and man, like the seismic changes.
There's seismic in Colorado?
There's a couple little earthquakes. We actually had one the other day.
Whoa. Did you feel it?
No. So it's fake news, but
yeah.
Just the amount of changes to seismic code in the next 6 years, a couple more cycles is just going to be massive. So, cities that are still with the 2006 IBC, they're going to be missing out on a lot of potential changes. And you could almost argue to some extent life safety.
Oh, absolutely. That's the whole point of the code is life safety. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'd like the states to choose. There are some old rural counties that just never updated, and maybe they feel that they don't need to, but on the other side, maybe they don't have the capacity to, these very small building departments, for a county or whatever.
Right. I've heard too, they'll let you use the approach of the newest code. They just haven't adopted it. So there's a lot of ways to get around cities that don't have the newest ones.
Good thing to mention is you can always use a newer code, because it is, the most up-to-date current state of the practice sort of thing, you are, by default, always allowed to go up. And even if a code official argues, this is even written, I think, in the IBC. I've seen this around, but no matter what, you can use a newer one. Let's go to kind of breaking down. We've got the code, which we keep saying, the code ICC.
The code.
In the code.
This,
In
the elusive code.
ICC, we've got a lot of other books, right? We've got something like the IRC, which is International Residential Code. I think they have the International Plumbing Code, the International Building Code, the take any I and just any construction word, put it in the middle, and then code at the end. And then there's you've got that book too. I mean, it's a huge stack. It used to be like just one combined small thing, but now pretty much every trade is in there.
Yeah, and every trade has commentary, and it's a big pile.
It's a big pile. Yeah. So with that code, like you just said, the commentary, I mean, that is, how would you define that? I mean, besides using just the word, which is pretty obvious.
I actually use it on a daily basis
Yeah, I'm
to
trying to think of
understand
a good
more of what they're trying to
example.
get to. I use it with ASE 7 with our loading and understanding some of the criteria. I've read a bit
Yeah.
of the IBC commentary to understand some of the reasons why they're doing things. It's a good way to understand why and to potentially need to get around it, or a lot of times I find that it's not relevant to what I'm trying to do.
Main
And I've
code
written
just states the fact, sort of. It says, you shall use an SDS of this if you're in this case. And you say, what is, or whatever, some multiplier. You say, why? That doesn't make any sense. And then, commentary will straighten you out.
and the IBC commentary is twice the size of the IBC, so it's
Yeah, I think
wonderful.
that was something I didn't look at for a long time. Starting out is, open the code, you find the chapter that you need, whatever, structural 16, I think, in the IBC maybe, and you just go right there. You see your one sentence. That's kind of confusing, but here's the fact I need. But really, unless you're sure of what you're up to, take a look at the commentary. It'll probably say something worthwhile.
Yeah, 100%. That goes with all the code books.
Oh yeah.
I think the masonry
in the
code book is
standards.
most information is in the commentary.
The code is just build it right, and then everything else is in the back. What about standards? The sub to codes, the underneath. They're holding up the codes. They're the bricks that make up the masonry code.
They're the foundation.
There we go. Well, I was gonna go bricks, then I was gonna go mortar with the reports. I'm in a masonry sort of mind right now. This is what I'm working on at the moment. Okay, so we've got these
Are you
standards.
drinking coffee?
Yeah, it's this is also our first morning episode. Do you got a coffee there?
I've got tea. I got off coffee about a week ago.
Man, I think I might have picked up your slack.
Yeah, good.
Well, that's very impressed.
It's been very difficult.
Yeah, I imagine. Thanks for bearing through with us. What about standards to get your mind off coffee? What kind of standards do we have?
Oh, just all the good ones.
The standards are the pieces that make up the codes, and the codes reference other codes, but most of those other codes are just standards. So ASCE is a standard, basically. I think there's probably a very precise line that someone in this industry knows, but I pretty much refer to anything that is not an ICC book as a standard.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Or testing.
Yes, so that's our third tier kind of reports.
In which, if you listen to our Patrick McManus podcast, you can learn a lot about how you can get a new system introduced into the world of structural engineering by potentially getting it ICC reviewed and reported.
Yeah, you're basically going up the chain there. Like, you start with your reports. And what was what is the testing agency that he?
It's a ICC ESR report.
Yeah, ESR. There we go. Yeah, so that's what you'll find. These reports, a lot of standards will reference. You must have an ESR report to use this product, and that'll be where you get basically allowable code values for a wall anchor or something. So looking at this as a full picture, your code says how you should design the building, and it can't cover everything, of course, in all materials, so it has to reference standards. The standards basically say how you should design some material or to certain loads. So it gets a little more specific. And then subbing down from that, the reports that you might have to reference as well tell you how you should design the specific element. So it's, element, material, big picture building.
Yeah, another thing on with those reports, mostly what you're going to see is the same thing that the manufacturers put in within their literature. You're just going to find the same loading, but you're going to also find the criteria of which how they loaded it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which can be important. We were talking the other day. The testing procedure for a wood diaphragm is at 2 feet on center. We have 4 feet on center. What does that necessarily mean? And if you just went around blindly that wood diaphragms have this capacity, then you'd kind of be missing the big picture here.
I believe
certain.
You have to increase your field nailing to 6 inches on center from 12 inches on center if you're at 4 feet on center.
Oh man, I feel centered. Thank you. I'll do it. What is that? Right? Is that an NDS or is we're not there yet. We just saw it and said, oh shoot, we got to figure that out. Huh?
It's in the NDS.
Master of Wood. Why don't you tell me what kind of standards we got available to us? We got a big list.
Man. Here's a great list for you. We'll go alphabetical. These are all the applicable ones for structural engineering that we probably use the most, but the ACI, the American Concrete Institute, AISC, the American Institute of Steel Construction, AISI, American Iron and Steel Institute, AITC, American Institute of Timber Construction, ANSI, American National Standards Institute, the APA, which is what we were just referencing with the NDS, Engineered Wood Association. We have ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineering, which we use ASCE 7, which is your minimum design loads. We've also talked about a little bit ASCE 41, which is seismic retrofit. A couple other ASCE standards that you'll use that are out there as well. ASTM, which is kind of that national organization for a lot of the testing and standards. AWS, the American Welding Society. I wouldn't say you're necessarily using too much AWS, but you are specifying on your drawings that your welders are certified by AWS. And then there's standards within AWS that, or it is the standard, but it kind of tells them the procedures to do welds. So maybe you call out a CJP, well, it will go through the how to do that. Then we have the ICC, the International Code Council, which is just referenced in its whole. The PCI, the Precast Pre-Stressed Concrete Institute, the PTI, Post-Tensioned Institute, SDI, Steel Deck Institute, SJI, Steel Joist Institute, and then TMS, which stands for the Masonry Society. My favorite is the Masonry Society because they're not an institute.
I agree.
So Max, with that list, what would you say is your favorite institute or society?
I'm just a big fan of the American Iron and Steel Institute.
Gosh, you're such a boss.
I know.
I love wood.
So, I know. That's why I wasn't even going to ask. But I have a different question for you, knowing that your answer is wood related. Okay, you get a new job. You get your first job. Maybe you have a code book or something from school potentially, but a lot of people don't. You're going to an office that most likely will have all of these books, right? Available for you. They'll have a big library. You can look at whatever you want. But a lot of these are pretty nice to have, to mark on your own, to highlight and, play with, do whatever you want with, put under your pillow. What books, maybe in order, maybe top 3, what do you think is the most crucial to have with you? Like you should buy going to work. You'll use the most. You'll want to mark up, whatever.
Oh, so I would say first off, no doubt, ASCE 7.
Yeah, easy.
The newest one has the provisions and the commentary in 2 separate books. I'm not sure if you can buy them separately. You probably can. I would most definitely have both. I think the commentary adds so much to it, in which we didn't even talk about. The commentary of these codes aren't technically code.
Yeah, that's a good quick jumping back here. It's like you don't have to do it. I think a good example is, the reduced wind pressure, which we talked about a little while ago for elevation. For a long time was in the commentary of the ASCE 7, which sort of says it's a thing people are doing. If you feel good about it and maybe do some additional testing, you can use it, but in some circumstances, maybe it's not the right thing. It's a very hand wavy sort of area.
Did you know that what they had in there was incorrect up until ASCE 716?
For the coefficients?
Yeah, for the change in altitude.
Really? Is that why it jumped a little bit?
Yeah, so what they started at sea level and they moved up in the atmosphere with and with the change in density. Well, let's say, the temperature at sea level to the temperature at 5,000 feet is way different when you start at sea level. But when you're at 5,000 feet, the temperature is the same at which it would be at sea level, right? Like
Yeah,
living in Colorado at 5,000 feet, it's not cold all the time. We have the same temperatures as it does at sea level. And so they did not correct that factor, which, well, your building's going to be on the ground at that elevation. As you move up, it's not going to drastically, get colder.
Yeah.
5,000 feet isn't colder than sea level when you have a building at each one. So they didn't correct for that delta in temperature.
Interesting.
So they went sea
that
levels,
temperature
this,
accounts for
and
more molecules.
yeah, exactly. So ASC 716 finally corrected that.
Ah, interesting.
Little fun
Nice
fact
to meet you.
there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so ASC 7, because you're
Yeah.
going to use that almost every single day, just
Well, and that's
constantly.
a good one to mark up. And honestly, I've never had that until now. I just got the 16. I was tired of, highlighting other people's books and having them yell at me. I do have a digital version, not the same though. You can definitely find some digital ones around, and some of the older books like 710, you could just, search 710.pdf and you'll get one. But that's not legal,
absolutely.
so don't. And
I think having your own books is really important. A lot of times young engineers are like, well, they're at the firm. I can just use them there.
it's
And I totally get
expensive
it.
to buy them. Absolutely, I get it.
I totally get it. But the amount of, like, I have so many notes in my ASC 7 of things that I just need to like quickly look at and not have to really think too in depth of. For example, exposure categories for wind.
Mm-hmm.
I just
a
have
nice flip too.
yeah, I have got just a really quick like handwritten exposure B, C, D, and exactly what those mean. Like, so I could jump to what I need really quickly rather than in the code. It doesn't really it does an okay job explaining it, and then when you get into the commentary, it starts showing you like pictures and stuff. And I was like, well, I can pass up all this if I just write myself a couple notes.
Yeah. And when you go around to taking your PE or SE, having those accessible and being very familiar with them is worth so much.
Totally. So that's a big one. I also have my own copy of the IBC. I don't think that's as important. I don't go to it as much, but it is nice to have a
Yeah, and
copy.
you had that from a class in college, is that right? So you've got a few years ago.
Right.
One.
So I've got the 2015 IBC.
Nice. Yeah,
So
I've never had that one, and I don't want it.
yeah, no, that's fair. I wouldn't say that's definitely not my second pick though. So
And
ASC 7.
We're mentioning where else you can find these. That's another one you can find online. The ICC actually provides that one for free. You can't print it or do anything funky with it online, but you can search it. You can do anything you need. So to me, there's no reason. I mean, the book's nice. Obviously, every office will have one, but yeah, just go online.
I would say for me, this goes for everyone. Everyone deals with steel in some manner, so
Yeah.
I'd get AISC. Steel manual. You always have some sort of steel on your project. So
Absolutely. And the other thing, I mean, these are in many books, but AISC has nice diagrams for moment, max moment, depending on your loading, which is in every study book and whatever. But when I'm like, oh, what's moment of a point load off center or whatever, something a little weird, I always have my AISC. So it's a good reference for that, I guess.
oh yeah, it has plenty of great shear and moment diagrams and continuous spans, and
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of good little
great-
tips in there.
What okay, what else? What else we got?
That's where I'm kind of stuck, to be honest with you.
Really?
I would-
I got an easy. And I mean, I think my three were exactly what you said, and I'd end with the NDS.
Okay, that it was going to be between the NDS or the ACI.
Oh shoot.
I would say I opened both of those probably equal amounts. I would say prior to where I'm at now, I would say NDS because I was designing wood a lot. But now I kind of deal with concrete maybe a little bit more.
Okay, so maybe we end with both NDS and concrete. Again, both good. I don't know, price of these. They're all in like the $200 range, which is such a bummer. With professional memberships, you can sometimes get them cheaper. But after those four, I think that that is more than enough to get yourself in the door and feel like you're prepared. I think so. That's ASCE, the Steel book, the concrete book, and the wood book. And then everything else, if you want to add on a little bit more, that's more of this like report side of thing. Cold form, you can order catalogs. Decking, you can order catalogs. And these are basically the reports that give you the values. You can even order design manuals for all these things, all for free. So if you feel like, just showing up with a little extra, you can have all your deck diaphragm stuff ready to roll, know how to design them.
And the IBC has design guides that you can buy too.
Oh, yeah.
For structural elements.
How much are those a piece? About 50?
I believe they're somewhere in there. Yeah, they're not too bad, but they have a lot of good information. And I think those are huge for new engineers to kind of understand what they're trying to do when someone says, hey, go design this wall. Okay, what do I actually need to look at?
Yeah.
I think that's something where you're always hear like, oh, higher ups get paid more, they can bill out more because they're more efficient. Well, I think that's where they're more efficient in is, you give someone a new engineer a trust, he's probably going to go through and design every little nuance and every little piece, but a senior engineer is going to know exactly the, 2 or 3 pieces that that need to be designed, because then everything else from there is, trivial.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll have a lot of links for this one because we rattled off a lot, and hopefully we'll catch up with ourselves here online. Our website is lagging a little bit beside our podcast. I think we've mentioned in one of the past couple, but I just changed states, so my house is still half under construction here. I had to test my structural ability by hand. So I don't have internet or a desk, but very soon we'll be back to our normal recording schedule and updating our website and be bringing some other cool stuff. Thanks for bearing with us. And
we're interviewing a lot of people this summer.
Yeah, the next 2, should we throw a teaser on that? I think we got I'm really excited for these. I'll say I think I don't know what order these will come out, but we're interviewing Core Brace, which makes these BRB braces, which you talked about before, but I'm actually heading down to the office here in a couple weeks and gonna go meet those guys. And then we're interviewing somebody with a structural monitoring system. So if you're interested in asset management and structural monitoring, I think he's real an expert in the field. So he's gonna have a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh yeah.
If you guys have any other topics, ideas, anything, shoot us a DM on Instagram, a message on Facebook, send us an email, any way you'd like.
We'll get back to you.
Thanks for tuning in this week.
My name is Max.
And I'm Zach.
See ya.
Bye-bye.